Hi there, folks. How are you doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston, in the northwest of England. And I'm offering this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. It is titled Exquisite Pain, Exquisite Risk, Exquisite Love. So I invite us to still ourselves, to invite a loving presence to be amongst us, and to awaken from deep, deep, deep down within us all. Holy One who has given us the breath of life, today we remember to breathe deeply, to rest, to take in, to pause before we act, and then to take in another deep breath, poised on the edge, and risk jumping in, risk taking action, risk speaking up, risk using the gifts that we have been given. So at the end of our life, we can say with absolute clarity that no part of our existence was wasted in fear of failure or fear of success. Hold us, prepare us the way to begin to offer the gift of our awakened presence, full of love and of light today. These are the prayers of our hearts that we lift up now. Amen. In Exquisite Risk, Mark Nepo wrote, "In truth, the work of love is tending to small things completely. Such tending opens the mystery. By the large-heartedness of our smallest attention, we enter the ocean of love that carries us all." Or to quote the song, "It ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it, and that's what gets results." Yeah. I am continuing my daily practice of sharing each morning the little things I noticed the day before. I have done so every day ever since my friend left me those gifts of Milky Bar chocolates on my doorstep at the beginning of December. It is wonderful to see how folk are responding. It's moving me deeply. Just a little thing that is having a positive impact on the lives of others and on my life too. Concentric circles of love spreading out into the world, a world that at times appears devoid of it, depending on how you view it, of course, depending upon our angle of vision. It really matters how we see the world. Well, you know what? I was visited by an angel again this week. A beautiful gift of an orchid with a lovely card that was left on my doorstep. I opened the door and there it was. As I left the house, so they did it while I was in, not when I was out. This wingless angel was offering me loving and encouraging words of support in this card and this beautiful gift of a plant. Beautiful words written. I cannot begin to tell you how much that meant that day as I opened my door and saw beneath my step. It has been a really difficult few weeks since we lost dear Andrea. At the time of this recording, actually, I'm still preparing. We're still preparing for her funeral. By the time this devotion is watched, the funeral will have taken place tomorrow, Friday, for those watching afterwards. I have felt weighed down by it all, if I'm honest. I have felt vulnerable. My heart has felt broken open. Thank God for loving support from so many people. I cannot tell you how much the little gestures of kindness and love have meant to me. They have touched me oh so deeply, such exquisite love. It felt like I've had a layer of skin removed at times these last few days, really, and yet I've been functioning as normal. It is my responsibility to do so for so many, many, many people. No doubt my own grief really will only truly begin following Andrea's funeral. I'm having trouble sleeping. It's not my head, it's just in my body. I could not sleep on Monday night. I had just written the service, or at least the first draft of Andrew's service. So it was very much in my body. I woke at 3 a.m. and I just could not get back to sleep. At 4 a.m. I decided that instead of just lying there, I would go for a walk. It was beautiful walking in the dark with the birds' song, so much bird song in my ears. I still felt quite vulnerable, like I had this layer of skin removed from me. And as I walked, I refelt in my body memory, really, a visit to Chatsworth House many, many years ago. It is an incredible place if you've never been, full of the fineries of life, I suppose. But I remembered what affected me the most about the visit was not the exquisite fineries witnessed, but something far more disturbing, actually. Right there in the heart of the house, I came across the chapel area. And I remember entering it and noticing towards the back of the chapel and just in front of the altar there stood a dark-looking figure, a statue. In one hand, it seemed to be holding what looked like some kind of blanket or cloth, and in the other, a large pair of scissors. The figure intrigued me, so I looked a little more closely and searched for some information about it. I soon found it. The sculpture is called Saint Bartholomew, Exquisite Pain. It is a bronze figure standing 2.5 meters tall and is the creation of the sometimes seemingly controversial Turner Prize winning artist Damien Hurst. It says that the inspiration from the piece comes from memories I have of woodcuts and etchings I remember seeing when I was younger. As St. Bartholomew was a martyr who was skinned alive, he was often used by artists and doctors to show the anatomy of the human body, and this is also what I've done. He holds his own skin over his arm, and he holds a scalpel and a pair of scissors in his hands, so that his exposure and pain are seemingly self-inflicted. It's beautiful, yet tragic, like Saint Sebastian. His face shows no pain, though. I added the scissors because I thought Edward Scissorhands was in a similar tragic yet difficult position. It has a feel of the rape of the innocents about it. At least that's how Damien Hurst described his own work. Not a pleasant image to carry with you, I know, but it was there. It was how I was feeling in that moment, that morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, walking the dark streets of Altrincham. That's how I felt, like it felt cold. That's how I remembered it anyway. It just came back to me as I felt this on my skin, on my face, on the back of my head. As a child, I was always considered overly sensitive, that I needed toughening up to develop another layer of skin, I suppose. For a long time, I attempted to do so, and of course, it only made things worse as I attempted to be something that I am not. I attempted to harden my heart, if you like. The truth is that all I needed to do was to learn to not take things so personally and to allow my sensitivity to become an asset, I suppose. These days, I attempt to defend my heart less. Today, my sensitivity probably has become, professionally at least, one of my greater assets, my treasure. It's certainly where my heart is, although it's not without cost at times. Yeah, I can carry a lot with me. The ministry group I belong to, although I've become a little disconnected from recently, has a little covenant saying that they used to say many years ago. We used to say it as we met one another, and this is how it goes. I honour your gods. I drink at your well. I bring an undefended heart to our meeting place. I have no cherished outcome. I will not negotiate by withholding. I am not subject to disappointment. Now, oddly, these words come from traditional Celtic wedding vows, but they don't seem very romantic, do they, for a wedding? But I think they symbolise something rather deep from the Celtic tradition, really. And it's the line, I bring an undefended heart to our meeting place that resonates with me the most, I think. It is the key, I believe, to living this spiritual life, to live with an undefended and open heart. This can be extremely painful and difficult at times. But I have learned that it's vital for me to live this way. When I close down or put on my suit of armour, life soon loses its flavour. I get cut off from everything and I feel alone, exposed yet covered in armour. I think that's why I've always struggled with the sentiment of Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 to 16, the passage commonly known as God's armour. I do remember visiting an Anglo-Catholic church once where I saw an image based upon the passage. I remember thinking to myself, that is the last thing that I want. That it's not an image that brings comfort to me or a sense of protection. It makes me feel cut off, really. The last thing I would want. For me, religion and spirituality are not about being at war or in conflict, and the God of my limited understanding does not want me armour-plated, I don't think. A warrior. No, it's not an image I go for, really. I know these kinds of images appeal to many, and they certainly do to some of my more traditional Christian friends, I guess, but they don't to me. And actually, it's an image that seems in direct conflict with the message I find in the Gospel, so yeah, it doesn't speak to me. It doesn't speak to how I feel from inside anyway. In fact, it would seem to cause bigger problems than it would help with. It seems to me that to truly live spiritually alive is to live with an unarmoured heart. Easier said than done, I know, but it's the treasure. And whatever my treasure is, I have come to believe that's where my heart must be. So I don't want to put armour on that. Well, how can I share the treasure if I'm covered in armour? Armour-plated, cut off from everything else. Try and imagine, wonder what it would be like, really, to live with an unarmoured and undefended heart, what that might be like. Because we all have defence mechanisms, things we do to protect ourselves from being hurt. I'm sure we are all familiar with the fright and the flight mechanism. I'm sure we've all heard about that, haven't we? But there's another reaction that perhaps we've heard of less frequently. We don't really talk about it. And I call that a kind of freeze mechanism. It's something I'm extremely familiar with, for I have utilised it throughout my life. What happens is when trouble strikes, a frozen person appears to continue to function normally on the outside, but inside, emotionally at least, they're completely shut down. They internally hibernate. And this is something I've come to learn about myself over the last few years, and I see it in others quite clearly at times. I'm quite sensitive to it, actually, in others. I can sense that they're doing it too much sometimes. When it happens to me, my neck and my shoulders become stiff, my throat dries up, the base of my skull, it seems to warm up actually, my skin tightens around my face, I tend to blow out a lot, and it feels like someone has just dropped a great rock into the pit of my stomach. In these moments, I build up my walls and I try to keep life out. You know what? I was doing that at 5 years old, and no child should ever have to do that. We seem to spend our lifetimes building these walls that we think protect us, when in fact all we succeed in doing by creating these walls is block ourselves off from the love present in life. It cannot come in and we can't let it out. And surely that is the treasure of greatest value in life. An exquisite love, really. To live with an open heart is to live intimately with all that is life. It is to experience life through our felt senses, to experience it, to really feel it. To not be ruled by what our minds project from our past, those disappointments and those fears that are built over a lifetime. To live with an unarmored heart is about connecting with all that there is. Zen Buddhism talks about intimacy with 10,000 things, which basically means intimacy with all things, all phenomena. that nothing is left out of the equation, so intimacy with all that is. I've discovered that I'm living open-heartedly when I'm not at war with life, when I'm not arguing with reality and not avoiding intimacy, especially intimacy with my own thoughts and my own feelings, never mind anybody else's, when I'm closed down. I do find myself arguing with reality at times, and I suppose some would call this living in denial, but thankfully, by living faithfully once again, I see the truth and let loose the prison of my own skin, if you like. And I move into a newer and fresher reality as my heart opens up and I experience this new reality again. I can't these days, thank God, remain armoured or frozen for very, very long at all. Faith seems to set me free again. I shed another layer of skin. You gotta lose this skin that I'm imprisoned in. I gotta lose this skin that I'm imprisoned in. I've gotta lose this skin. It takes courage to truly engage in what Mark Nepo has called the exquisite risk, to live the authentic life, to join in the courageous conversation. So, this devotion, I suppose, is an invitation to you to come and join with me on a journey under the skin. Come with me on a journey under the skin, deeper than this skin, to lose the skin that we're all imprisoned in. Let's take the exquisite risk. Let's live by exquisite love. It can be done, Do not be afraid and don't freeze. Well, it's turned a bit cold, hasn't it? But don't freeze. Don't live a frozen life. I'll need to remember this tomorrow at dear Andrea's funeral. It will have gone by the time you hear these words, as we say goodbye to a dear friend. I'm going to end this reflection with a few words of blessing. We need to bless more, and we can all bless. And we do so by giving our whole hearts to life. So let's begin blessing today. Let's give our whole hearts to life, no matter how much it hurts. So let's return to our lives once more. Let us live open-heartedly, so that the Spirit that lives to set us free can enter into us and fill our hearts, so that we can become beacons of love and connection to all that we meet in this world. With open, undefended hearts. And let's carry that Spirit with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, and in all that we do. Let's go in love and in peace. Amen.